Who is Sonia Kasher?
She's one of my best friends who's a makeup artist.
And you would call it basic face? What do you mean by basic face?
Well, we had to come up with a title. And the idea was that it's a kind of makeup that any woman could wear every day. It's not for photo shoots, it's not for television. It's real everyday makeup for real women. So we were thinking like The Gap, basic face.
Do you recommend brands?
No, because we didn't, I represent Revlon and I use Revlon products, but I didn't also want to alienate the women who didn't use Revlon. So it's really, we talk about application and texture as opposed to saying you should buy this. We're not trying to sell makeup with the book.
Oh, no, okay, but how can a book tell you how to, what do you do? Dab twice, hit the side of the nose? I mean, what can a book do?
Well, it can tell
a recipe, put
it is like a recipe, though. I mean, even the way we made the book look, we based it on between a notebook and a cookbook. It's on a spiral, it lays flat, and it is very much a how-to. We talk about, I mean, you maybe wear a little makeup when you're doing your show, but you don't wear it for real life, and most men don't, and I think that most men shouldn't. But most women do wear makeup, even if it's just a little bit, and no one ever teaches us how to do it. And it's very intimidating. And I don't think men really relate to the intimidation that women feel, because if you're not putting it on right, it's not making you look better.
So, but your mother teaches you, right?
Well, my mother wasn't allowed to wear makeup. We weren't allowed to wear makeup.
Why not?
My dad, they went on a date, their first date, and my mother had makeup on. She was 16, and my dad drove her to his parents' house and said, "Wash your face. Or I'm taking you home." I know. I said, "You went out with him again? What, are you nuts?" But she did, and
so you were raised strict.
Pretty strict, yeah. I mean, getting your ears pierced, my father thought only, hookers did that, and modeling was like, oh, forget it. But so when I started modeling, I had to do my own makeup.
So you had no basis to learn. Do most kids learn from their mothers? Most daughters learn from their mothers?
I think most daughters watch their mothers and play with their mother's makeup growing up, but I also think that when you're 13, you might not think what your mother does is cool, so you might try to do everything that she doesn't do, which is why a lot of 13, 14-year-old girls walk around with pretty scary makeup on.
And also the question comes, where did your mother learn?
Yes, exactly.
Now, she had to learn, but there's no basic way to learn.
No, I think now...
A man learns to shave from his father.
Is that a ritual?
That's usually the ritual.
That's nice.
Or an uncle or somebody teaches you.
Yeah, women don't really have that so much. I think they learn from magazines, watching. There's a lot of fashion on television now. And again, something like this book really covers even what the kind of tools you should have. We talk about, like, fingertips are the most important thing. And
fingertips?
Yeah, like using your hands to do makeup.
Now, Sonia Kasher is your makeup person and your friend, right?
Right. I mean, I work with a lot of different makeup artists, but Sonia is one of the people I work with.
But don't most makeup professionals only work with professionals? So how do they know about everyday makeup?
Well, because Sonia's a woman, and so she has to do her own makeup for life. She has 3 sisters. I have 2 sisters. Both of us were always getting questions from our sisters or friends. Well, what would you do? How would I correct this problem? And what we have is we have all these things that work for, covers of magazines or whatever. But then how do they apply to real life? And that's what we kind of bring them.
We'll cover a lot of those basics because we've got a lot of time. Why did you choose to become a model? You grew up in DeKalb, Illinois, right? Was this a special kind of faith or religion your father was in, or was he just strict?
No.
Not Amish? Or
no, nothing like that.
Just strict?
Just a strict dad. And
so how did you get into a mold from a dad who wouldn't have you pierce ears to being a model?
A local photographer in my town asked if he could take some pictures of me for the local paper, and that kind of started it. I mean,
Just like that?
Yeah, I was
how old?
16. And before that, I was a serious student, really involved with school, wanting to be anything from, at one time I wanted to be the first woman president, then I wanted to be a nuclear physicist, anything that I thought would get me out of DeKalb and see the world and do something different. I wanted to make a mark. And this local photographer took my first pictures, and that kind of started it.
You liked seeing your picture?
No, not particularly, but at the time I was working for minimum wage in a cornfield, and when they said modeling paid $75 an hour in Chicago, I thought, this sounds like a good thing to do, yeah.
What were you doing in the cornfield?
My town, DeKalb, is known for seed corn, and feed corn. So we worked, planting it, hoeing it, picking it, you name it, we did it, It
was to DeKalbites, if you're in DeKalb, are you a DeKalbite?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Okay. Was going to Chicago big deal?
Oh, definitely. You know, you did that. I mean, we went on the train at Christmas and saw the Christmas parade, or went to Water Tower Place to check out whatever the big Christmas tree was and that kind of thing.
Were you a very pretty kid in school?
I wasn't voted like most beautiful girl in my class or homecoming queen or anything like that.
None of that?
No.
Did you have a lot of boys flocking around?
I think I had I was probably in the popular group of kids at high school, but not, you know, I wasn't the girl.
Was your father very picky about that?
Well, my parents got divorced when I was 16, so right when I really started dating, he wasn't in the house, which was probably a blessing in disguise, because I didn't have him there, like, you know, waiting to meet the guy.
So did you go to Chicago jobless? I mean, how did you make the move from DeKalb?
Oh, well, I was still in high school, and my parents drove me in the first time. And
where'd you go?
We went to a modeling agency and had some really cheesy test photos taken, you know, like I'm wearing some bad kimono and yellow eyeshadow and holding an umbrella. They're so bad. But through the...
They'll be in the Enquirer.
Yeah, no, I think my mother actually has all the film on that, so that's pretty safe, unless she needs money, and then she would possibly sell it to the Enquirer.
Oh, you have little faith. Go ahead.
No, I always tell my mother, I said, if anyone ever offers you money, I will double it. Just call me, you know, because she always teases that she's going to sell pictures of me. And I went, through them I met a more reputable agent in Chicago. And then I just started slowly.
What was your first paid modeling job?
It was for Marshall Field's department store. It was a bra ad. And I had to then decide, would I do underwear? You know, it was kind of an orthopedic bra. It was nothing.
Orthopedic
bra?
Well,
it looked like that. It was like a whole halter. It wasn't Victoria's Secret. But I was in high school, and the next day that it ran in the newspaper, it was plastered all over my high school. And, you know, my only retort was, well, I got paid, you know, $75 for that, or whatever the amount was. So.
Now, your parents may have been divorced, but was your father a little ticked?
Not about that. I think there's been different things. When I did Playboy, that was, my father was a blue-collar, I mean, he was working as an electrician at the time, and I can only imagine. Can only imagine what he had to put up with.
More on the life and times of probably our best-known model, Cindy Crawford. The supermodel is the author of Cindy Crawford's Basic Face, a makeup workbook. It's from Broadway Books. We'll be back with Cindy after this. We're back on Larry King Live. Don't forget F. Lee Bailey tomorrow night. Our guest is Cindy Crawford. Bill Murray will be the guest on... yeah, just thinking about it. Bill Murray will be the guest on Friday night. Cindy Crawford's book is Cindy Crawford's Basic Face, a makeup workbook. It's available now everywhere, right?
I think so, pretty much.
Christmas, big idea. Christmas gifts coming. Okay, how did you make it? What was there a thing that happened to you that made you what they now call a supermodel? Then I'm going to ask you if you like that word.
Yeah, okay. I think it's like progression. There's been a few pivotal steps.
First pivot.
Vogue cover. I think that's the first big one.
How'd you get there?
Just Richard Avedon. I just moved to New York. My agency was really behind me, and I was old for a model. I was 20 already, so they...
Did they ask you to go to New York?
Yes. And they
your agency?
Yes.
Is that still your agency?
No. Hustled me around New York to really get into all the best people, because they knew that a lot of young models are 16. They ship them off to Europe for a few years to get their experience and their tear sheets, but I was already older than that. So they really got me in to see the big guys right away, and it just ran. I mean, you never know when you do a cover if it's going to run.
Now, when it's a Vogue cover, is it just the model they're shooting, or were you modeling something? Well,
you have clothes, but at that time the Vogue covers were so tight, they were just like a headshot. So really it was about you.
And then now people pick up on that in the modeling field, and they start to say, who is this?
It's a seal of approval. Especially for me, it was a big thing, because before that I had done a few other covers that weren't as big, but they didn't know about my mole, if it was beautiful or not. They hadn't decided yet. So some they retouched it off, and I don't have it. And when Vogue ran my first cover, they left it on. It was a seal of approval from the, you know, at the time, and probably still Vogue is the voice of fashion.
Did Avedon, the famous Richard Avedon, suggest leaving the mole?
I don't think he suggested leaving it, but he also didn't suggest taking it
He was
off.
hired by Vogue to do a shoot.
Yes.
He did a shoot, right?
Yes.
What was it like to be, at age 20, photographed by him? Probably the most famous fashion photographer.
A genius. And Penn. I mean, the two of them, they're really... And for me, I came from Chicago, and there's a photographer there named Victor Skrybneski, who's like an old-school photographer as well. And so that was my training, working with those kind of photographers. And then to come to New York and work with Avedon and Penn. And they started fashion photography. So it's such an honor. They're so professional. They know exactly what they're doing. Over the years, sometimes I like working with some of the younger guys because you have more of a say, and it's more collaborative in a way. You know, Penn poses you almost, you know, puts your arm here and your head here, and, you know, it's like you're a mannequin. Whereas with, you know, some of the other photographers, it's more trying to capture that one little moment, whatever it is.
Do you know a photographer is very good by working with him, or must you see his pictures?
Sometimes, well,
let's say you come to a session, I'm the photographer.
Right.
Lawrence, the photographer.
Yeah.
Right? And it's shoot,
Where's your ponytail?
And I'm heterosexual already, I'm on the outs, right? Anyway, but let's say, given a couple of things. Now, I start, can you tell just by yes, no, yes, that I'm good?
No.
You have to see my work.
Yes, I can tell more from the light. And I can tell, like, where they have the light set up. Now I know if someone's not good. But sometimes I think someone looks all right, and then sometimes it just doesn't. There is a magic that happens, but sometimes you just can't.
When you get real big, can you turn down a photographer? Can you say, I will not work with him?
Sure. Certain photographers, but certain ones, you know, there's still a hierarchy, and I would never turn down Penn, for example, or Stephen.
Without naming names, have you turned down some?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Because they don't make you look good.
Or I've seen their pictures. There was an instance where someone wanted to work with me, and I had seen his photographs of other women that I think are really beautiful, and they never look beautiful in the picture. Now, I think that was deliberate, but I thought, you know, I'm a model. I still want to look beautiful. I'm not at that point yet where I want to do an interesting photograph of myself. I still want to look pretty.
Isn't the model's purpose to sell the bra? To sell the jacket, right?
Definitely.
To sell the eyeshadow, to sell whatever.
Whatever.
So how does that balance between that and selling yourself?
Well, I think just in the last 10 years it's taken on. I mean, people didn't really know models' names before. And somehow what happened is that designers like Gianni Versace, they thought it would be interesting or fun to build up the model with the product. So it wasn't just a model wearing Gianni Versace. It was Cindy Crawford and Gianni Versace together. It backfired a little bit because what happened is they built us up into these, whatever we were talking about before, supermodels, and we'll talk about that later. But and then a lot of the designers didn't like it because, well, they didn't want to pay it. Like, all of a sudden they were paying us a lot of money, and then they didn't want to do it anymore. Or they felt like we had too much control. So the business has changed back again, but then there's, you know...
The model, a super status statement.
Yeah.
Didn't they also think that if I say that's Cindy Crawford, I'm not saying that's Versace?
Yes. I think certain designers they wanted it to say, since we're using Versace and Cindy Crawford, they wanted it to say Versace on Cindy Crawford, not Cindy Crawford wearing Versace.
That's a thin line, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which do you like?
I don't really care. When I'm modeling, I am very happy to... You want my hair like looking like pebbles? I particularly don't like it this way, but okay, I'll do it because I know that's what I'm there for. If I do a show, I'm getting paid to do what they want to do. If I don't, I can say no and not take the job, but if I show up, I think that I should be a good model and do what I'm doing.
So your job is, if that's the way they want it, that's the way they want it.
Right, and then on my own things, like the book, or exercise video that I produced, or House of Style, which was the show I did on MTV, I have more say and I can be more representative of me. But when I'm working, it really is my responsibility to represent them.
Do you still do runways?
I did a show, I think the last time I did shows was a year ago. But it just hasn't, like right now the shows are going on and I'm promoting my book. So I had to pick, well, I have to pick the book. I like doing shows once in a while. If nothing else, I get to catch up with old friends, you know, because that's the only, we're all sitting around. You sit around for like 3 hours before, so you get time to talk.
Is that a mad scene backstage?
It's a zoo. It's complete chaos. It's amazing that we're always running around and throwing clothes on and off, and then the second you come out from behind the thing and walk down the runway, it's you're calm, you walk down to the end, you walk back, then you fly back to your rack and throwing clothes on and off again. So it's...
I'll ask you in a minute what makes a good model, and we'll get to that supermodel question, and we'll talk more about a basic face. Our guest is, do I look good? Would I be
you
a
look good.
male model?
He's a very good basic face.
We'll be back right after this. We're back with Cindy Crawford. All right, do you or do you not like the term supermodel?
Well, now it's so common. It's like I used to fight it, and then it became pointless to fight it. I just think it sounds funny. What does it mean? It's some, you know, media term.
Famous, high-paid, well-known as the product they're selling.
No, I prefer all that. Supermodel. Yeah. I mean, I always feel like I should have a cape, and then I go into, you know, telephone booths and change, and I become supermodel. It's just a funny thing. I don't know what it means.
Are there price ceilings? Are there certain, like at supermodel level, you get this per hour?
No.
You still negotiate?
Yeah, on every job and on every usage, especially the way I work now. It's more like I have long-term relationships with companies like Pepsi and Revlon and Omega watches. So those are all different. You know, maybe for a show, there's like a set rate, what they almost pay everybody. But even then, it's not set because, let's say I said, well, I'm not doing any shows this year. And they say, well, we'll pay you not to do any of the other ones and just do ours. So they still might pay me more than they would pay.
Give me an example. I'm not asking you. What a top model would make in a year? Really? Top earning model?
I can talk about that. I would say around 5. You can make upwards of $5 million.
$5 million. So in collaboration with...
You got to work really hard.
You have to work.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
You're on like I went to Dubai last week for a day.
One day?
Yeah. 25 hours I was actually on the ground. So I mean that is not glamorous to me. It might sound glamorous, but it's hard. I was, you know, dead when I came back.
What makes a good model?
Well, 2 things. I think one is just, you know, whatever, you know, your envelope, what God gave you. And then I think it's being able to have a rapport with the photographer. And that's why sometimes I'm better with certain photographers, like Herb Ritz or Patrick Dumas-Lier. They seem to find something in me. We have a good relationship. And other photographers have that with other models. And certain photographers really have one person that's their muse, just like a painter.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You know, it changes because we're...
So that makes it impossible to define beyond what equipment you have.
Well, like, I think if you said, like, what makes Naomi Campbell a good model, I would say, well, she knows how... She's a great mover. She has an amazing body, and she used to dance, so she's a great mover. I think Linda Evangelista, what makes her a great model is her ability and her fearlessness about changing. She really is a chameleon. Christy Turlington, I just think she's just more classically beautiful.
When you look at great models of the recent past, like Lauren Hutton,
right,
or Cheryl Ladd,
right,
what do you say about people like that?
Well, Lauren, I just have so much admiration for because she's, you know, she's still modeling and she's over 50,
yeah,
you know, and proud of it, which I just think is so cool. Like she is totally herself, doesn't make any excuses.
Have models changed? Could a young Cheryl Ladd be a successful model today, or have we changed?
It's definitely changed. I mean, even I don't think if I was 18 now, I probably wouldn't be on the A-list of what's in vogue right now.
You're not in vogue? I mean,
yeah,
in the
but
magazines,
in literature, yes.
Why are you out?
Well, there seems to be this very thin kind of druggy kind of look that's predominantly in editorial. I mean, it hasn't really crossed over to advertising where people spend money.
But they're becoming there, right?
Yeah, I know.
Druggy meaning sort of spaced?
Yeah.
Younger?
Sometimes, but not necessarily.
I mean, Calvin Klein kind of thing?
That, and actually, I mean, they even have made me look like that. I mean, it's not about age. It's about a certain kind of makeup and body language. But, you know, when I started modeling, it was 80s. It was like, you know, power. I mean, not just the modeling world, but the whole business world. It was like power suits and about money. And now it's changed, you know, and it always has to change, especially the magazines.
Now, you're 30, right?
Mm-hmm.
When does a model get old? When is a model called old?
Oh, about 5 years ago.
When is the height? 20s?
They start telling you to lie about your age when you're 25, which I never did because
You're kidding.
No. And
you're over the hill?
It's changing a little bit in people's minds as the baby boomers get older. They're willing to accept, they want their models to kind of be the same age as them. So.
Was it a plus or a minus or neither to have brown eyes in a blue-eyed world?
Well, I think it was a plus in terms of that women related to me, and I think that's why a lot of my fans are women, that they said, oh, she has brown eyes, she has brown hair, you know, because before it was, like you said, Christy Brinkley, blonde hair, blue eyes, you know, everyone wants to look like that, but you know, not everybody does. And I think women related to the fact that I wasn't like super, super, super skinny. And I know that you might say, well, you look very, but I mean, as for model standards, like I can't even get, you know, they hand me pants that Kate Moss put on, and I'm like, I can't even get them up above my knees.
Twiggy or not.
Right. So.
So the brown was a plus, the brown hair was a plus, made you different.
Yes.
Now what about the mole?
The mole. Well, I didn't
It's
really...
fake, right? It's over here next to it.
I move it around. No, it's there.
Did you ever think of having it removed?
Sure. I mean, when I was a kid, my sisters tortured me, called me mole face, and they said, if it's on... I said, but it's a beauty mark. And they said, no, only if it's on the right side, it's a beauty mark. On the left side, it's an ugly mark. So
you thought, did you ever get to the dermatologist's office?
I never got that far. I asked my mother if I could have it removed, and she wisely said, yeah, sure, but you might have a scar. And she gave me the choice, but she made me really think about it. And when I first started modeling, the very first agency said, well, we're not sure, but let's see how people respond to it. And it never, after that, it kind of went away. Like, I don't think about it every day now.
When you get a book like your book, can most women look prettier?
I think a lot of looking prettier, well, the main thing is self-confidence, I think. Like, if you feel good, you just emit, if you have passion, it comes out. It makes you more beautiful. But I also think...
If you're happy, you're more beautiful.
Yeah, all of it.
Life is good, you're more beautiful than life is bad, right?
But a lot of things that women do with makeup, because no one ever taught them how to use it, in fact, have the opposite effect. They're wearing too much, they're wearing the wrong color, and it makes them look not as good, not as fresh. I mean, the whole point of wearing makeup is not to say, wow, you do your makeup great. It's to say, you look great. So I think that, yes.
If someone says you do your makeup great, that's not
That
great.
is not a compliment to me, no.
What you want to hear is you look great.
Are you, and they think that you're not even wearing
Now,
it.
Nail polish. You don't have bright-colored nail polish.
No, I'm a clear girl.
You're a clear girl.
Mostly. Once in a while, red.
Will you wear any of this new black thing?
Little too trendy for me. I do it for photo shoots, but I'm not really into being that trendy.
Is nails...
And how about you? Do you like the black?
I like black. For men?
No, on women.
Oh. I don't... It's okay. It's not... I like plain like that. Is that like French?
Yes, like a little French pink.
Yeah, my daughter does that. French, whatever that means. It means they put white under the...
Oh, I didn't do that, actually. They're actually just clean.
Just clean. I like clean. I like a little polish. I need a manicure. I'll get one tomorrow.
It feels good, doesn't it?
I hate when I don't have it.
Oh, but it feels good getting one. When they do the hand
Why
massage.
does it make you feel good?
It relaxes you. I don't know why.
Getting turned on. I don't know what's going on. We'll be right back with Cindy Crawford. Don't go away. We're back on Larry King Live with Cindy Crawford, our only guest tonight. And she's the author of Cindy Crawford's Basic Face, a makeup workbook from Broadway Books. We polled women at CNN in Washington who wanted to ask you questions. So I am now relating their questions to you. Since we pre-taped this morning, we didn't have phone calls. This will be like the phone call. Okay. How do you keep your figure, especially being on the go all the time?
Working out, I would say, is the main thing. And no matter what it is, no matter where you are, I find something to do. I just recently started running because it truly is portable. No matter where you are, you just take your running shoes.
You go out running in the morning if you're in Chicago?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times if I'm in a hotel, if I'm unfamiliar with the city, I'll try to have a treadmill. Because, if it's dark, I'm a woman. I don't feel that safe out on my own.
You work out every day?
No, I work out like 3 or 4 times a week.
Do you eat anything you want?
No. That must make a lot of people very happy. I don't. I wish I could. I mean, I happen to like healthy food. I don't eat meat.
What food would you love to eat if you don't eat?
I don't eat as much cheese as I would like to eat. I recently found out that caviar, though, is not fattening, which shocked me, because I love caviar and I used to not
So you like pizza?
I like brie, like really good, yummy cheese crackers. I don't.
Your last movie, Fair Game, didn't make it. Do you plan to continue doing movies?
Only if it's something that I had the experience of making a movie. So now, if I'm going to do another one, it would have to offer some other experience, either a relationship with the director in terms of someone that really wanted to... doing an action movie is hard because it's so much more about if the truck skidded right or if the explosion looked right than about the performance.
Did you like the process?
I don't think I feel like I know what the process is, really. I mean, it was just that one experience. I loved working with Billy Baldwin. I liked being in Miami for the winter. I liked working with a group of people for 4 months because as a model you don't have that experience. You're 2 days here, 3 days there. But I'm not...
The technical stuff is...
The technical stuff's fun. I don't feel like I really had that experience. I recently just did a short film for a friend of mine. And that was actually more about the acting. You had time to do things and work with the actors and work on your lines and that sense of play. And then I thought, oh, I could see where that might be fun. But also, I think movie hours are terrible. I always say making movies is not conducive to life, and I want a life. Yeah.
Who are you currently dating?
Ooh. Well, I'm not.
This is staff question. The kind Larry usually doesn't ask.
I was going to say, you're really. I'm kind of dating a few different people right now. I'm not.
No, you're not in love.
I'm in like, but
in like ain't in love.
No.
Do you think you'll remarry?
I hope so.
You want children?
Definitely.
Would you ever want children without being married? This is my question.
I want children enough that I probably would do that, but I still see the joy, like my older sister, she has a 2-year-old and just a newborn, and just the fun of doing it with somebody, and also to have someone to share the 3 o'clock in the morning when they're screaming kind of thing.
But you wouldn't be adverse to having it if it worked out that way?
No, I'm not against that for myself or for anybody, but...
Do you keep in touch with Richard Gere?
You know, I think we're still friendly, but, you know, we're both really busy, and it's kind of, it's almost too hard to do that.
Do you look back at that as a worthwhile experience?
Oh, yeah, God. He's great. I learned so much from him. So.
He is great?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you wouldn't say you're enemies?
Oh, no, not at all.
You didn't take him to the cleaners?
No, I didn't take him to the cleaners even one penny, and I think that he wouldn't think we're enemies either.
How do you feel about, I never heard of this, past allegations regarding your sexuality?
Oh.
Are there ever such allegations? See, this I don't
I did a Vanity Fair cover with Katie Lang, and it was her Vanity Fair cover. Herbert shot it, but he asked me to be a prop, and I was shaving her. So it was funny because it's...
You were shaving her?
Her beard, but she doesn't have a beard. But, you know, Katie Lang, she is open about her sexuality. It was her cover, so I thought I was just being a prop for the photograph. And I thought, you know, if I would have been there shaving you, people wouldn't have necessarily said, oh, they're having a relationship. I was just doing a picture.
Want to do that?
A picture. We should do. That would be funny. We should do a spoof on that. That would be.
It could change your image.
It could, exactly. See?
So but in retrospect, that was a dumb thing to do, right?
I don't think it was dumb, just in that.
But did it start rumors swirling?
Yeah.
Like Tom Cruise started rumors because of the way he posed for a picture?
Yeah, I guess. But I also think that, you know, if you don't want to be so afraid to do anything, you know. You still need to do, I mean, I got to keep this job interesting for myself as well. And even just hanging out on the set that day, Katie Lang was singing. I got to hear her singing live. I mean, live, you know, along with the radio. And Herb Ritz is a photographer that I've had a really long, good relationship with, and was happy to do it for them as a favor.
Were you shocked that some people had that reaction?
I was amused at first, but then you kind of get annoyed. And then one of the great things I always learned from Richard was that you know your own truth. You know, so if they say that Dennis Rodman and I are having a baby, or Katie Lang and I are having a baby, it doesn't matter. I know what my truth is. So. But
you and Richard had taken an ad out once, right? To say we're a sexually compatible couple.
Yeah, because stuff wasn't going away. And in Europe, you know, these people can write whatever they want, and it's so, you know, that's when you really...
You're a victim of this, right?
Yeah, because, I mean, I've always enjoyed a really good relationship with the press in general, and also doing interviews. Like, I always say, if I'm going to come and do an interview, I don't want to be like, I'm not saying anything, and, you know, make it a bad experience, like pulling teeth. I want to be open. I want to, you know, whatever, answer the questions. Then you and I was very much like that when I was 22, 23, 24, and then you start having things build up, like you have a negative experience once, negative experience twice, and you do become more guarded, and you wonder why certain people who are 45 and have been famous for 20 years won't talk to the press, because they've been, you know, harassed too many times.
Richard is certainly a classic example, and more than you, right?
Oh, yeah, and I think that he's maintained a very good attitude about himself, but he is much more guarded than me. You know, he won't go on David Letterman or certain shows because he doesn't want to, you know, he just doesn't want to deal with it.
We're in a movie together, by the way, he and I.
Which?
Day of the Jackal.
The new one?
Yeah.
How fun.
We'll be right back with more questions from the staff. Cindy Crawford. Another question from the staff. You know, this would be a cute gimmick in case I didn't want to ask anything. I blame it on
Yeah,
them.
exactly. There's nothing written there, actually.
we have never done this, except in your case.
Okay.
How long does your Revlon contract extend?
It's for sure 3 more years, and then plus an option for 2 more, but it's mutual. So it won't just be me getting canned because I'm old.
You like working with Ron Perlman and that whole group?
Yeah, I mean, I see Ron about once a year at like the big Revlon dinner or something like that. And they've been great to me. I mean,
who else do they use?
They've used Lauren Hutton. They're using now Halle Berry. Claudia Schiffer has a contract with
Melanie
them.
Griffith?
Melanie Griffith.
Fellow models such as Linda Evangelista have made some pretty shocking comments in the past, such as, "I won't get out of bed for less than $10,000 a day." How do comments like that make you feel, and how do they reflect the feelings of most top models?
Well, I think
Assuming she said that.
Well, she did say that, but I think that it was not even taken so out of context so much as that I think she said it to be funny, but in print it didn't read as funny. And we always torture her. We said, that's going to be on your gravestone, because people responded so negatively to that. And I understand why. It's not an attractive sentiment. And
it's gross, Sultana.
Yes.
You can't.
And we don't, I mean, it's not true, because when you do a cover of a magazine, I think we get paid $100 for a Vogue cover. Everyone thinks you're making millions, and it's not true. I mean, where you...
$100?
Yeah. Yeah. And I remember I did my first one, and my mother thought that was it, I could retire. You know, and I think I got, $100. Plus, you have to pay your agency 20% of that.
So you would get out of bed for...
I do often get out of bed.
When you do a Vogue cover, you get $80.
Yeah, something like that.
Modeling may not be an option for you. It can't be an option forever.
No.
Right? So what do you want to do other than model?
Well, already I've started creating more business for myself. I mean, even in terms of doing the book. My actual company produced the book. And exercise videos, that kind of thing. I don't know. I'm involved with Leukemia Society of America because my brother died of leukemia. So
he did? How old?
He was 4, and I was 10. So, I think that I can hopefully bring awareness to some of those things. I do a lot for breast cancer. Revlon's very involved with that. So those kind of things I think I can spend time with, and just create business for myself, whatever it is. And take more time off. Like I said, I take more time to actually live. It's not like I'm going to retire and be a recluse, but I think that I definitely can slow down.
You want to have a family.
Right.
Is it a lot of negatives being famous?
I still think that the positives outweigh the negatives, or I wouldn't be here. But there's some things that,
no private life.
Very little. And then you start sneaking around, like to go on a date with someone or whatever, and you don't even want to. Or I went to dinner with my father the other night, and it was in the paper, that I was out with some mysterious older man. Yeah, my dad. I'm entitled to go out for dinner.
It's going to start you and me now.
I know. See?
See? So we might as well.
We might as well do the shaving. I'm going to shave you right on this show.
You don't think a magazine's going to call tomorrow? I love this. But aren't men a little intimidated by you? Have you felt that?
I haven't really felt that. I mean.
Oh, your table is ready, Mr. Crawford. Come by. That kind of thing.
Oh. It's so much up to the man if they let that be. If
it bothers them.
If it bothers them, I probably wouldn't. If they're insecure, then I probably wouldn't want to be with them. So it's kind of like that's part of my package. I come with that. If someone all of a sudden doesn't want me to model or has a problem with my image, well, I don't want to. Thank you very much. Nice meeting you next.
And the date has to be equal, though. I mean, you have to be as interested in him if he's Joe Stockbroker.
Yes.
Is that hard sometimes? With Joe, let's say Joe Boring.
No, I actually don't. I don't think so. I mean, maybe I've just been fortunate and met interesting people. But I find people who are passionate about whatever they do interesting. If they have interest in it, it's normally interesting, even if it's not something that I normally would think about. But if they get excited about real estate or whatever it is and they're talking about it, that becomes very appealing and sexy. So if they have, I want to be with a guy who has self-confidence, whatever field it's in.
So, and if it's real estate, you're curious about,
sure.
Especially if he's got the
I might not want to hear every detail, but, I don't want to tell every detail about my day either.
Do you know how to tune out, too?
Mm-hmm.
We'll ask you what you do when the date is boring and it's only shrimp cocktail. We'll be right back with Cindy Crawford. The book is Cindy Crawford's Basic Face, a Makeup Workbook. Don't go away.
AT&T.
We're back with Cindy Crawford. Her book is on sale everywhere. How much is it expensive? This book?
$25.
That's
I
fair.
think, yeah.
With the workbook to go with it? I mean...
Well, it is one book, and, you know, I wanted it price-wise to be available to, you know, I always say the girl in the Midwest, because that was me, you know, 15 years ago, so.
All right, you're at dinner with Joe Handsome, and Joe Handsome...
First of all, they don't have to be handsome. You know, I mean, it's nice, but I think the other stuff is more important. But let's say the shrimp cocktail, and it's boring, right?
Yeah, what do you do?
Food poisoning. Oh, that shrimp, I knew I shouldn't order that. It's good, actually, good to order seafood. That's even a better reason not to order
seafood. It's a new idea, order seafood.
Order oysters.
Okay, oysters. Now, what if you like the guy, really like him? Shrimp cocktail.
Well, then you continue eating.
Do you let him know that you like him?
I think it's usually pretty obvious, don't you? I mean, I'm not the kind of woman that says, you know, I really like you. I think we should take this further. I mean, I see those kind of women in movies, and I think maybe that's a good approach. I don't know. I'm still a little old-fashioned that way. Like, I would wait for the man to call me and stuff like that.
Yeah, you wouldn't call a man.
Right. Like, I remember, it's not really the same thing, but, you know, we were never allowed to go out on a car date if the guy just honked the horn. You know, we had to wait till they came up to the door. So I guess I'm still of that school of thought.
Well, that's very good in a way.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's quite natural for women to feel pursued, and I think it's also quite natural for men to pursue. And I think both people win if it goes well.
Does supermodel get to travel a lot?
Supermodel has to travel a lot.
Because she could model anywhere, right?
Well, yes, but you know, certain opportunities. I had a crazy schedule in the spring where I was in, I think, Tokyo, Shanghai, Bali, and Sydney. Bali was vacation, I admit, but the other three were jobs on either end, you know, within 10 days. And, you know, it's stressful just getting through customs in those countries, you know, Shanghai.
Do you have management that handles all this, too? I mean...
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, I've gotten spoiled the last couple of years because now I have, you know, I get to bring my assistant or publicist or somebody with me, so I'm not by myself. But, I mean, many times I was sitting in coach going to Bali by myself, getting off the plane by myself, finding a bus or whatever.
Why'd you do Playboy?
Well, Herbert's asked, and he said that we would work together to create the images, and that I could actually scrap the whole shooting if I didn't like it. I didn't take any money from Playboy, which is, I think, the mistake a lot of people make. They get paid a lot of money up front, and then they get to do whatever they want. And I chose to not get money, but get control of the pictures. And I felt like if they would have been in any other magazine, no one would have said boo. It's just it's just the Playboy with those little ears somewhere.
So you signed off on it?
Yes.
Then they paid you?
They didn't pay me much. Again, I didn't do it for the money. For me, it was something.
You did it for? The photographer?
The photographer, knowing they would be good pictures, and also at the time, maybe it wasn't conscious, but it felt like it would open me up to a broader audience.
This was some years ago, right?
Yeah, 10 years ago.
We'll be right back with our remaining moments with Cindy Crawford right after this. A couple of other quick things. Mattel Toys wanted to do a Cindy Crawford Barbie doll.
Yeah.
What happened?
Oh, well, we talked about...
We're going to call it Cindy?
I think so. That would be natural, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
It would probably have a mole. Well, at the time, I wasn't that interested, and they've kind of reapproached me, and we're talking. I just am afraid that it will... I think my mother wants me to do it, you know. I could make her whole life if I would do it, Cindy doll. But I'm afraid that it'll keep me from doing other things. So it's one of those decisions that I haven't really made.
Would you want to be in charge of the proportion of the doll and the way the doll looks?
Well, I said that. I talked to them about that. And they had a real me Barbie that no little girls wanted because they thought she was fat. So I don't, you know, everyone, you know, Barbie's body would be like, no real human being looks like that. So.
That's right. You wouldn't.
I would want it to maybe be a little more realistic, but you know what? It is for, I don't think that's what gives young women poor self-esteem, a Barbie doll.
You don't?
No.
Were you a Barbie doll person?
Oh, sure. Definitely. And
you have them all?
Well, we had, no, because we didn't have that much money, and we didn't have like any of the fun toys like Carousel Kitchen or any of that.
The truck?
No, nothing.
If they made if they made a Cindy doll, they have to make a guy, right?
Well, we were saying maybe it could be a photographer, though, and he would have like the black ponytail and the black turtleneck.
What name would you give him?
Well, there's this photographer named... I think Lawrence, actually, yeah. That's
Lawrence, though.
Photographer Lawrence.
And you're...
Laurence, actually.
Laurence.
Laurence.
Or Lorenzo.
Lorenzo would be good. Lorenzo's actually better, I think.
Or Enzo.
And so,
And those also Larry.
The possibilities are endless.
Anyway, what about Planet Hollywood? Are you one of the owners?
I'm one of the, not the main, the big four.
You're not the Willis Schwarzenegger.
Right, but I do have stock, and I am, you know, I go when I can, and it's actually been fun. It's been more fun than being on the models have one called Fashion Cafe, but I've had more fun because I don't know all those people, so I get to meet new people.
What do you do, Cindy, when you get most of your goals before you're 30?
Well, I don't know.
It's hard, ain't it?
These weren't really my goals. It's been great. I mean,
sit down and say, I want to be
no.
this.
My goal is to be professional and be challenged by what I do, and it's great to have financial security. But my goals were much more about family and stuff, and so I have plenty of things to work on still.
One other quick makeup thing. Biggest mistake most women make is where? Lips, eyes, where?
I think foundation. I think they wear the wrong color, and you know, you see it. See that line?
Yeah, I hate that when you see the red.
In real life.
Or the brown.
It's not nice, is it?
No, it's not. Well, don't they know that? Don't they look in the mirror and say?
No, because yeah, they do look in the mirror, but the lighting in cosmetic stores and in bathrooms isn't daylight. So it looks perfect in their mirror at home, and then they go out into the street in the sunlight, and it's different light. That's why in the book we say that you should check it in daylight before you go out. Because also your skin changes colors during, you know, if you've been in the sun, and...
Some women I know don't want to be made up by fluorescent lights like in a bathroom.
That's good advice.
They'll put on a little makeup light and shut off the fluorescent. See, I know these things.
See?
An old Jewish guy. Still It's been great having you with us before.
You.
Finally together.
I know. We're going to start rumors, aren't we?
Hey, let them...
let them talk, right?
What are they going to do?
We know our truth.
No, we don't. Anyway, the shaving scene. I love the shaving scene. You haven't seen The Last of Us, folks. Tomorrow night, F. Lee Bailey will be with us. Cindy Crawford was our guest tonight. Thanks very much for joining us from New York, right?
Yes,
hey, from New York.
New York.
Good night.
You're gorgeous.
Good night. You're gorgeous.